You're looking part two, Armagh Senior Championship preview. We've had a look at the ladies' situation coming up in a week or so, well, this weekend. But as I say, this time of the season yet again, there's one situation has been decided, but no who's in the final of the Intermediate Championship. I have to give a shout out to the Harveys from Greenmore. So I tipped Murray at the start, but I think I'm going to have to go for Greenmore moving forward in case anybody's watching this. Peter Nugent and Patrick Morrison. Patrick, you're with Kilcoo, goalkeeping coach. Peter, you're still with Wolf Tones. Lads, looking forward, before we look at the Senior Championship semi-finals, Cross against Murray and Greenmore against Killeavy, two fantastic games to look forward to. Paddy, Shane McConnell's back in another final. He done it with Murray. He took St Paul's back to the intermediate final. Great comeback against, trying to think who they beat last. Tullysharn last weekend, who were well in front and were caught. But Shane's back with St Paul's, doing another fantastic job. How do you see the final going?
Look, it's Shane and he's finished top. St Paul's finished third. It's funny how it was actually St Paul's that drawn with St Peter's up in the Peters actually promoted Shane O'Neill's. So they'll probably be hoping that Shane O'Neill's will do them a favour and play below themselves so that they can win the championship and go up to senior themselves. Yeah. So I mean, St Peter's will be sitting nervous, waiting for the outcome, sitting in second place. Yeah. To see, they'll probably be hoping for Shane O'Neill's to win outright so that they can go up to senior as well with them.
Well, Shane's were favourites from the start. Patrick, do you see that just still continuing? There still are.
They're a very strong team, and they're past the final. They've scored a lot of goals, and they are a goal scoring team. They've shown that throughout the whole way throughout the league as well. Mm-hmm. So goals win championships. At the end of the day, it's something that Shane McConnell is going to have to curtail if he wants to win the cup.
Tullysharn started like a house on fire. Were you on commentary that night? I'm not sure what you're.
No, I wasn't on commentary, but they started out very well. I think maybe St Paul's just were a wee bit flat-footed, but once they got going, they got a goal at a crucial time when Tullysharn were 5 ahead, and it brought them back into it, which sort of shell-shocked Tullysharn a wee bit. Yeah. They couldn't rally very quickly, and St Paul's added on a few points to really get back into the game and push on. So it's took them into the final now, and that's what they're looking forward to.
A good final. Yeah. And Cullerville were pretty much fancied as well, I'm sure, at that stage.
Well, Cullerville would have been my pick at the start of the year.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
We got the final last year. We had come up against them when I was managing Clonmore this year, and they were very, very strong. They were on the verge of being just a senior team in the lower divisions, very, very potent forwards, all 6 of them. Regularly, every match were on the score sheet, and again, another goal-scoring team. This really showed that the game against College Land up in Abbey Park, they scored 6-16. So they were a dangerous outfit, and I mean, Shane O'Neill's, they done very well to, get past them and curb their goal threat.
Peter, come back in a second. Peter, I know you were in commentary for one of the games. We got both of the games last Saturday night.
Yes.
And how did you look at overall picture?
Firstly, I think St Paul's definitely deserved their win. They were slow to settle, but once they settled, they really took probably control of the game for 3/4 of the game, and was a wee bit concerned with just how Tullysharn had set up. They were affording a lot of space to St Paul's inside players. Andrew Myrne especially seemed to be in a one-on-one most of the evening, and I think if you give a player his quality, just a one-on-one all night, he's going to make you pay over the course of the evening. And I was a wee bit concerned as well. Tullysharn went very direct on their kickouts. They didn't seem to change it up when St Paul's got a foothold, especially that period after half time. Tullysharn kept going long, and I think Warren McGill, Niall McCarry and a few other lads really stepped up, took Tullysharn's kickouts and kept them under pressure and allowed them to build that bit of a lead. And then St Paul's had something to hold on to. And then Tullysharn got their period then for about 10-15 minutes with about 17-18 minutes to go, but they were quite wasteful in front of the post, probably a wee bit of inexperience. Yeah. And every time St Paul's counted them, Owen McConville seemed to just put the ball over the bar at the other end from all sorts of ranges and angles, and he really came big in that second half. He was outstanding. So St Paul's will have taken quite a lot out of their run to date, because they've shown a hell of a lot of resilience. They have been down in games, they've been pegged back in games, and they've always seemed to find a way to do it. And I think the reason why they're able to do it is because they're a very good set of forwards. Their attack is very dangerous, and they're going to give Shane O'Neill's a lot of problems. However, on the other side of that, Shane O'Neill's are going to be a lot more tactically astute, in my opinion, than Tullysorn were. Tullysorn was just so open, and it really gives St Paul's, as I said, one-on-ones all over the field. So I expect Shane O'Neill's to ask a lot more questions of them, especially their defence. They'll have a lot of cover in there. I'd probably go with 2 covering players, sweeping in front of that full forward line, sweeping in front of Andrew. Yeah. So it's going to be a different ball game.
Just I'll come back in a second. Patrick, I noticed the one thing I noticed about St Paul's and the way they were playing, they kept Andy Murren up front. He wasn't getting much in the first 15 minutes, but they were patient and they waited. I know he came out near the end, Peter, the last 5 or 10 minutes doing ball in midfield, breaking ball and stuff, but they kept him up front. But Tullysorn didn't double up on him. Was that a mistake? I mean, he got a lot of the ball in the second half.
Well, looking back in hindsight, you can say it's a mistake. But at the time, if he's not getting ball in that first half, you were always under the illusion that it is working.
So, and they were up
until it's not working.
Yeah.
And then that's you have to sort of change in game as it's happening. So. He's one of those players that can play anywhere. He comes in, he comes back out the field. I think the last time they won it in 2014, he actually finished the game at full back. So, I mean, he's just that versatile player that he can play anywhere, and anywhere he does play, he's just dangerous where he plays, So, it's just another headache for Shane O'Neill's to deal with.
And there's always this situation too with the fitness, Patrick, with extra time and penalties. Are you a fan of that? Are you a fan of the knockout?
I'm a fan of the knockout, but penalties no way for any team to win or even to lose a game. I don't think it's fair. I mean, you could argue all night about what's the best way and what's not, but it has been tried. It has been trialled. Even the men's seniors Armagh being put out by Galway this year. It's not. It's taken from another sport too. So. Even though Armagh is the home of the penalty kick, but no, it's no way for any team or any player to go out on especially a championship match.
Excellent. So that's a big game to look forward to, that final. But before that, just stay with you, Patrick, if you don't mind. I would have picked Murray at the start, and I know it's going to be difficult. David Lavery's out. We're waiting on Higgins. I'm not sure about Kieran Higgins' way he's going to make it or not. Aidan came off with an injury, came back on again, and Murray played their best football when they were struggling. Is that a mark of them? I mean, is that what they do? I mean, they're so gritty and determined.
Yeah, well, look, they're a difficult team to beat, and I mean
against the Nab. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, my pick would have been the Harps, obviously, for the championship, but Murray played very well. They were very well organised against the Harps. Especially in the second half when the Harps got on top and Murray were finding it very, very difficult to come out. And what won the game for them was the few attacks that they did get in the second half. They maximised them. I mean, they had 1-3 in the second half, and that's what won the game for them. So, I mean, when the chips are down, they don't lose their composure. They keep going. They have a game plan in place, and they just stick to it. And they know if they keep at it, they're going to be thereabouts at the end of the game.
Yeah, the good dogged team. They never stop.
Well, that's it. And they have the bench there to come in and replace them. The guys coming in off the bench know exactly where they're fitting in and what they're meant to be doing. So it's seamless in a way. And I mean, that's, as you alluded to there, it's just the way they are at the minute. And they're going well. They're going to be tough to beat. And I mean, look, they're coming up against Cross, so they're going to have to be at their very best.
Peter, would it be disrespectful to say that the winners could come out of this Cross Murray match? Would it be disrespectful to Greenmore and Cleavey?
No, I don't think so. No. I think this is, for me, this is the final.
Even though Cleavey at times against Clonagale looked decent, to be fair.
They did, but they're down a lot of players. They're down a lot of their better at the top end of the field, especially. And the young lad Lee Rice as well is out for the year, and he's a really, really top prospect coming through in the underage ranks, and Kieran Hanlon as well. So I think potentially this was the draw for Cleavey this year. This route to the final was the route they wanted with a full deck, in my opinion. It would have set them up really well for a big push in the final.
Yep.
I just feel that they're going to be slightly encumbered by missing that wee bit of firepower, bit of star power that's missing this year for them. Another young lad, Oisin King, I think he's out as well. So just that wee bit of extra quality that potentially they would have in their best team, they don't have it at the minute. And in their games to date, they've probably just been doing enough.
Yeah,
you come up against Murray or Cross in a final, and you're going to have to bring something a wee bit more.
Something else.
And that's not to say Greenmore can't grind it out against them, because Greenmore have been doing that all year, and they've been doing it in the championship, and Defensively, they're very well set up. They've good coaching as well as he's coaching in Down for a long time, McAleen, and he's obviously brought that wee bit more news to them as well. So there'll be no pushovers, and really this one probably is a 50-50, Eugene, in all fairness. It's two teams with nothing to lose. Big opportunity to get their first final, maybe their first final, and maybe Greenmore's first final ever, I think. And Clevie, it's been, maybe Sinead could tell us better, but it's been a long time, I think, since...
Do you remember the last one?
Senior final, late 80s.
You know.
I think you're right.
So...
I think you're right.
It's a big opportunity, massive opportunity.
Yeah.
But look, it's okay. You know, it's all well said and done talking about it. Both teams will just be keen to sort of get on with it next weekend, and you know, you just fancy Clevie on the strength that they have a good manager in there. Wayne Cairns has come in this year. He formerly managed Louth, and their underage setup and structures through the years have been very strong. Contributed a lot of players to underage in Armagh, so you'd be feeling that overall strength might just be enough.
Good stuff. Pat, I'm going to ask you a wee double barrel question if you don't mind. Last weekend, the weekend before last, there was 3 games went extra time. 3 games. I think you remember when Paul Grimley had Madden and Cross beat them in the Championship final by 20 odd points. That doesn't happen anymore. So Cross are difficult to beat. They only win matches by the 1, 2, 3 points. I know they won by more recently. You know, they're still the team to beat. They're not as good as they were. I don't think you can replace Oisin McConville. I don't think you can replace Bellew and McEntees, but they're an up-and-coming young team as well. But they're not going to win. They're not going to hammer anybody anymore. But you still think it's Crosses to lose. I think it's their championship to lose.
Well, I disagree with you saying that they're not as good as they were.
Good enough. I know you said that before. Fair enough.
Yeah, Cross are always good. They're always good as they have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the case of the other teams below them that have realised what it has took to get the Crosses level, more than Cross falling back. I think it's more the other teams coming forward. So it gives you that perception that Cross have declined when they actually haven't. And I think that it's a mindset that the teams that want to beat them don't want to fall into, and shouldn't be falling into if they do want to beat them. They are still a very dangerous team. They have very skillful players, very talented players. They've match winners all over the field and great leadership, you know, from the top down, even just not even on the field, but you know, off the field as well. Like, so
I don't often disagree with you, but I don't think it ever could replace Oisin McConville. That's my own personal opinion. You know, but that, I understand you're talking about the 11 and out situation. I just think Oisin could never be replaced. You know, maybe
well, his nephew's having a good go at it anyway, so you know, maybe not. There's only one Oisin McConville, but you know, you can only say there's only one Marianne O'Neill as well. Like,
exactly.
You know, so at the end of the day, they're still a dangerous team. Murray will believe that they can, and the way they set up will beat them in the end up. And yeah, I don't think it would be too. And I don't think Clevie and Greenmore would mind you saying that. The final is Cross and Murray. They'll happily heap all the pressure onto them, you know. So, but I know Peter says that Clevie might be too strong, but Greenmore are just one of those teams that just don't know when they're beat. You know, when you think you have them beat, all of a sudden they're a point behind you, and they're pegging. They've caught us a couple of times in league and championship before. You know, when we have got blistering starts and leading well in the second half, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're right behind you, or they're a point in front of you. You know, so they're just dogged. They're hard to keep going. They're just that country team where they're just a pure unit. And they just work hard for each other. You know,
was too much expected of the Harps, Patrick, your own club? Did people over?
I don't think it was too much expected of them. Murray were just very well organised in that first half. Harps found it very hard to break it down and get through. I think half time came at the right time for them, so they could regroup and come back out in the second half. Murray had really pushed on and were scoring well in that first half. And when the Harps came out in the second half, they got on top, and Murray were under the cash. They were coming through, but Harps were just being very wasteful with their with their chances, you know, and just the chances that Murray got in the second half. I think they scored what did they get? A goal and 3 points, and I think they had one wide. So I mean, they scored 4 out of 5 chances, which inevitably won the game for them. So look, it's one the Harps will rue. I was in the same position last year. That was the game that I actually finished my career on, like, you know. So
that's right.
I know it's a very long time, 12 months to put it right again, you know.
we always expect the city, Armagh City, to be doing really well. There's times when the Oaks and yourselves were dominating. Has that took a wee dip? I mean, will it come back again? I know the Harps had some excellent players at underage level coming through now. Do you think can that get that rise again?
Yeah, well, look, the Harps have been there last 2 years. They won the league this year. They won the league, the Porsche Clevie all the way last year. They've always been there. Traditionally, they've always been a championship team, so they'll always be there and thereabouts. The Oaks, meanwhile, they have gone down, but they should have the players and the talent and just the club to come straight back up. So it'll be interesting to see how their year goes next year. Excellent.
Caroline, just going to bring you in here if you don't mind. Yeah. We all lived in the town in Lurgan last year. Clonard had a fantastic year. The buzz was everywhere. That sort of, we thought maybe Clonagale might deliver as well, but Clonard were beat. But a lot of their players are still underage for the next senior for the next 10 years, as it were. So, with a fantastic year last year with them, and just didn't happen this year for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it gave a real boost, I suppose, even for Clonard themselves, even for the guys to kind of be the talking point for a change compared to, it's always been the ladies, which, for a long time there with Clonard. So, and obviously having Tommy in charge of them was, he's a great club man. He's a lot of passion for the game, never mind for the club themselves. So a lot of boys would have taken that. And obviously it paid off in the end. So, they were probably unfortunate this year, but there's a lot of talent coming through, and boys even pushed into the Armagh squad themselves. So they'll have a lot to say in the next few years. Excellent. For sure.
Sinead, are you going to tip Clevie then to win it? I'm sure. How do you see it going?
Well, I haven't seen Green more enough this year. I've seen quite a few Clevie games. I was actually down to the Clevie Harps, that league game. They were missing a few boys that night against the Harps. They were 5 points up with about 12 minutes to go. They should have pushed on. They didn't park the bus, in my opinion, and they should have, and they probably could have beat the Harps that night with the boys they were missing. They're carrying quite a few injuries, which would, as Peter says, like Oisin King, Kieran's a big miss. Lee Rice broke his leg last year. He was the county captain for the Minors, great lad. There's a lot of young talent there, like you've Cathal Boyle in the middle of the field, good lad. Then you've the other side of the coin, and you've James Donnelly, who's a complete warrior who will never give up. I don't know. I'd like to see that they'll get into the final. Obviously, there's some great lads there, and I've seen them grow up through the ranks. And yes, there's been brilliant underage set up in Clevie, but there's been a brilliant underage set up in Clevie this 30 years, and it just doesn't seem to come to fruition, which is disappointing. I'd like to think that group of lads there at the minute, they won an under-16 title together, they won a minor title together, so that crux of lads are coming through there. But the injuries are hard to replace. Players of that calibre are hard to replace. In 1 year. Like even when you go back to even the Cross McLean Silverbridge game, Silverbridge had Cross on the racks with when young Keaton scored the goal. I thought to myself, God, we're 5 points up here. This could go well, but then Cross do what they do. They're very cute. They win a couple of frees. They tap them over the bar. It just experience then kicks in. They never panic, which is another thing as well. They're so cool and collected. And as one of the lads said, they're great leaders. Like the ball always seems to go to the likes of Aaron Kiernan, who just seems to slow the whole thing down. Yep. That experience you can't replace either. I think the Cross Mahary game's going to go toe to toe, which will be great. I still don't know about the Clevie Green more. I think it is 50-50 because of the injuries that the Clevie are carrying. But on a personal level, I'd love to see them get there and get into the final without a doubt. But I think the other side of the coin, which as the lad says, Clevie and Green Moore, they're under the radar really and truly. Everybody's just going on with Cross and Mahary, and that's the final. Peter alluded to it earlier, So you don't know what's going to happen on the other side of the draw, so it's going to be interesting too. Can I just ask this to Patrick, if you don't mind, Patrick? Maybe Sinead and maybe men be as involved in this as we are. And Lurgan is a huge soccer town, as you know, right? You have a rugby club as well, but you have 33 soccer teams on a Saturday playing. You have all your Gaelic clubs playing. You have 6 or 7 clubs in the one, a really small catchment area. If you look at Rian O'Neill, and I've asked this to people before, maybe I asked this to you last year, look at Rian O'Neill, Aaron Kieran, those boys could play rugby. They could play in the Irish League. Someone could probably play English Premier League football. They're so athletic. What keeps them in Cross McLean? They don't really try too many other sports. Is it basically like a religion to them? I mean, some of them guys could make it at any sport at any time.
Well, look, I'm sure they've played other sports growing up. There is soccer teams down south Armagh too, Eugene, you know.
Maybe
So
one or two.
I'm sure there's more than one or two. I've played a good few of them, like, you know. And there's Westbrook United, and there's teams down there, but you know, look, it's
technically in that catchment area. I'm talking about right in the middle of South Armagh. I know there's teams in Uri and the Carnby playing against them, but so many of those cross players could.
A soccer team in the Carnby for years.
I know there was, but those guys could excel at any sport.
Yeah, look, anybody could excel in any sport, you know, if you put your mind to it and if you're dedicated enough, you know. So, I mean, if you want to allude back to Kenny Mullen, who plays Gaelic football, she plays rope bowls, she has a number of sports. You've Caroline O'Halloran plays netball for Northern Ireland, correct, and she plays netball over in England at high standard, you know. So, I mean, anybody could play at any sport if they really put their mind to it, you know. So,
very few can be overly successful at a long multiple,
yeah. Yeah,
so that's where I think that's where Crossmaglen have the onus.
Yeah,
on their
because that comes first.
Crossmaglen comes first, and that's just the way it is.
And that's handed down to the generations and one family to the next.
Well, that's it, and that's maybe coming through the troubles, you know, and with the base, you know, parked at the side of their pitch. Yeah. That sort of siege mentality where it's us against them and us against everybody. So, I mean, that feeds into that, and you know, players respond to that, and you know, that's another great thing about having Killian as a base for Armagh, rather than having to travel the girls all over the county. Now they have somewhere to call their home, and now that sort of brings that sort of unity and that togetherness where they're not just sort of scattered around and not knowing where they're going. So, yeah, look, it's to go back to your original question. Yeah, they could play any sports, but their first love is Crossmaglen, and that's all that matters to them.
That's what they're going to do. Yeah. Peter, just we're looking at Crossmaglen been favourites for the Armagh Championship continuously for this last 25 years. Not the power they once were. Patrick would know with Kilcoo and Ulster. You know, I'm not saying they will win the Armagh Championship, but they're finding it difficult every single year. How good is it to have a different winner? We've had 5 winners in the last 6 years. How important is that?
Yeah, it's huge. It's what probably Armagh were crying out for now. I suppose the counter argument to that is Armagh won their only All Ireland during the middle of Crossmaglen's most successful year, and Crossmaglen contributed extremely heavily to that success. Contributing a manager, and I think it was 7 players on that winning panel. Not only 7 players, but probably 5 that played a huge role on the pitch. And what Cross had coming through at that stage was just a generational crop of superstars, really. And I find it hard sometimes to hear about these young teams coming through that are building. But if you look at the first Crossmaglen team that won All Ireland, the backbone of their team was made up of their under-21 team. So when you're good enough, ultimately you're good enough. And I think sometimes it's thrown about that teams are young and they need time, and that team proved that you don't need time. If you're really at the top level and you have tradition behind you and a winning mentality within the club, then great things can happen very quickly. I think in the general scheme of things, they aren't going away anywhere. They're going to win probably 5 of the next 10 minimum. Because their whole club is set up to do that. They're not set up to come around once every 10 years and put 2 in a row and then go away.
It's an expectation.
They're there the whole time, and if you break it down, what's probably driving their team on this year is in 2020 they were 11-6 or 11-5 up on Mahary coming up to half time in the county final. Mahary hit them for a couple of goals, and that brought into a contest. But Crossmaglen were playing fabulous football in that first 20-25 minutes. Brian Fox got a goal before half time. Narrowed the gap, and then Mahary really came good in the second half. Crossmaglen lost their best midfielder, Steve Morrison, their keeper, in the 3 days leading up to that final, which would throw most teams in their preparation. You lose your goalkeeper, you're starting from scratch basically. Unless your number 2 is bang on it, knows every drill, every concept on the kickouts, you're in big difficulties. Last year against Clonard, there were 5 points up again going into the last water break. Concede 2 goals in the last 10 minutes, come down the stretch, and it's devastation for them. So my concern from Mahary probably is that they're really up against a wounded team here. And their extra time period against Drummond was very strong. It looked like they'd sort of found their groove again after stuttering for the first game against Silver Ridge, and the sort of hemmed and had against Drummond. They were a man down for 15 minutes. They were still comfortable in the game, but that extra time period for me, they got reinstated to 15 on 15, and they really blew Drummond out. So I'd just be slightly concerned for Mahary on that front.
Patrick, just to come back to you there, I think it'd be remiss not to mention where you are at the minute. You're goalkeeping coach with Kilcoo. they're the best club in Ireland at the minute. So just for a neutral point of view, maybe moving a wee bit away from the Armagh Club Championship, what's it like to be there, involved in a club with such a high esteem, with fantastic facilities, great history? Jim McCarry would have kick-started a lot of it years ago. So what's the setup like, just without giving too much away, as it were?
Look, it's more a community than a club. And I wrote an article about it in the Gaelic Life last year, about how anything that the community needs, not just the club in general, even the football team. If there's people in the club that need help, that the whole community pulls together, and anything that's needed is got, So, I mean, there's stuff run every week, every night. There's something organised, and just volunteers. Any club is run on volunteers and people doing stuff, and there's just so many people that are just willing to give their time for the club and for the team and for the underage, both boys and girls and camogie.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic setup to be involved in, for even just for experience wise, So
what would you have, Patrick? If, for example, you've got the manager, you've got an assistant manager, have you loads of coaches? I mean, you're looking after your end of things. How many? I think Shane McConville had said that he was with Murray when they won the championship, and he went and played against Kilcoo. He said it was like playing against Manchester United. He said they're so well organised and so many people behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, you've the joint managers there, and Richie and Richie Thornton and Conleth Gilligan, and then you've your physio, you've your doctor, you've myself doing goalkeeping. I mean, I just come in sort of after the league for the championship, and then you've the two kit men, Richie and Barry, and then after that, like any team nowadays, it's the players themselves after that.
Yeah, good setup.
Yeah.
Then good subs.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, they all love, like I was saying about Cross and Glen earlier on. They love playing for their club, and they're really playing for their community and their parish. And it's not just the sort of team that they're playing for. It's their families. It's the people of Kilcoo themselves. So they all pull together, and it shows on the pitch.
Exactly. Sinead, can I just ask you there, maybe soon finish up and get the boys up the road? What was it like? We've been sort of sheltered from it a wee bit down here. What was it like in South Armagh when Silverbridge hadn't won a championship? Drummond Teague couldn't beat Cross in the semi-finals. I mean, they were rooks. What a fantastic team they had. All us pipped at the post in semi-finals and finals. What was it like in South Armagh when Cross McLean were winning 16, 17, 18 championships in a row, and you guys trying to emulate them? Was it difficult? I mean...
well, everybody... I think first of all, within the county, everybody's trying to beat Cross, but then when Cross come out of the county, you want them to go the whole way. It's the same even in Ulster. You want an Ulster team to win in All Ireland. You know what I mean? But way back when they won that first one, my uncle was actually chairman of Cross at the time, and we were sort of privy then. So being younger, and we got on the bus and up the road with the team and the cup, and I'll never forget it. It was a brilliant experience, and we had great crack. But they were an unbelievable team, But I remember Oisín would be the same run as a brother of mine, and Cleavey and Cross back in the day at that minor level. You would have had McNulty would have been the same run at Mullaban, all that sort of age group. Mm-hmm. So you had Oisín, Cahill Short, the McEntees. They were all in that minor team that would have played Cleavey, and Cleavey were very much on a par with Cross in that era. But then the following year or two after, just explosion in Cross with just this massive, I don't know, cohesion of whatever happened, the sprinkling of something, I don't know, but they just made the step above, and that was the kickstart of their winning those All Irelands. And you also did have that wee bit of older experience too, probably Jarlath McConville doing nets, and do you know what I mean? Yep. A few older heads as well, John Donaldson or whatever. But the experience back then was crazy. I remember us getting booking Ulster buses and all going like South Armagh really rallied round Cross at the time, like most clubs would, but it was very supportive. But then the following year you were like, oh, we have to beat these boys, and then the following have to beat these boys. Nobody could touch. And
Drummond T almost did so many times.
Drummond T were probably the closest South Armagh team. Yeah. Cullyhanna weren't too far away at one stage either. Yeah. But again, it's just. Look, you can't take it away from them. No. It's the same as Kilcoo, as Patrick says. It's a community thing too. They just seem to pull together out there, and that's the way they work. And everything's done together as a group, and everything's very quiet and kept under the radar. And then all of a sudden, it's job
off
done.
Off the go. And that's coming through on their age.
Yeah.
just before we go, can I get a wee prediction, Caroline? Who do you think? I picked Murray at the start, so I'm going to stick with them, even though they're under pressure. I can understand with injuries and stuff, and because they play across, you feel like changing your mind. But I don't. I'm going to stick with them because I have a great admiration for what they do. Peter mentioned the siege mentality. They're out there on their own, in the hinterlands near Tyrone. They've kept the club together for so long, and somebody told me that they've 30 kids in the primary school. That could be more than that, I don't know, but that's what you're up against over there. So they redevelop themselves, they reinvent themselves every single year. I'm going to stick with them. Who do you think is going to win the Armagh Senior Championship? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, God, well, I suppose, I think it'll be hard to pass Cross. I think, Mahari, I suppose they've had a few injuries. It depends, I suppose, what way that game will go ultimately. But, I think I'd go with Cross then, yeah.
Go with the Cross?
Yeah.
From an Eire Og woman?
I know.
There you go.
Should be sticking to the north.
Sinead, the bridge.
I'm going to go totally against the grain here, and I'm going to say Cleevy's going to give it a rattle. So I am. That's just, I don't know, just something.
You have a feeling for them?
Yeah, something in my water.
Because they beat Clonagale, is that it?
Huh?
They beat the clans.
Well, they're just about beat Clonagale. But those sometimes those wins can build something more. Do you know what I mean? Because if they had walked all over Clonagale, it's no good going into a semi-final either. So. As I said, I'm not a betting person, so don't be dependent on me.
But they're in with a chance.
They're definitely, they're in the top 4.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get into the top 2. Just have to win the next game, and that's it. So I'll go with Cleevy in this one, even though a few of my cousins and Cross will start shouting at me.
Patrick, the winners of Armagh and Monaghan in the Ulster Championship, that's who play each other, will play the Down champions. Was that right?
Yeah.
So who's going to come out of Armagh then to play Kilcoo?
Look, as we were saying earlier, it's probably going to be from the Cross and Mahari side of the draw. Cleevy and Greenmore will be happy enough to pass all the pressure on to those two teams. Trying to separate the two, it'll be a difficult choice. It's your age-old coin flip, but as Caroline had said, it sort of just depends on the availability of the key players for Mahari. So I mean, if they're going to be available and able to give their full 100%, I would tip Mahari. But if they're not, and if they're going to be a bit below par, I would say Cross would just have too much for Mahari. So, but it's going to come from that side of the draw, in my opinion.
One of the two.
So one of the two.
Should you go for Cross?
Well, I'll say if Mahari can get their man back, I'd say Mahari. My money would be on Mahari. If they were in full steam, my money would have been on Mahari, especially after watching them again the Harps. So
Peter, we can't forget that they've played all season by Oisin O'Neill.
Yeah.
So they're not a full strength either. I know Mahari could be missing more, but you've seen all the games, and Patrick has seen them with commentating and stuff right at the cold face. So are you going for Greenmore then? Because you're a family
a nice way
you're a family with a Katie people.
If I just slipped out here flipping Greenmore.
The Nugents are from some of your Nugents.
Well, my dad's from Greenmore, so that would be a nice
worse.
connection there. Trying to retain some credibility over Eugene, so I'm going to go with Cross, and it's. Look, I have serious admiration for everything Mahari do. You get 10 out of 10 from them every single day in the athletic grounds when it comes to thriving in adversity, 100% application for the community, drive in that jersey. It's always 10, and that's why they've won 2 championships. Just concerned by the lack of manpower that potentially may catch up with them. They had every reason not to win the game against Ballymacnabb. Calling it out straight because everything was going wrong for them, personnel wise, losing key players right throughout the game from the very start to the finish, men hobbling off, men coming back on. Aidan Forker was carried off and then he reappeared at half time chasing the ball around the sod at half time like a lunatic, so that tells you just the level of drive in their changing room.
He's so important for them.
He's the best club footballer in Armagh. For my money,
he didn't get an All-Star, no.
No, he didn't get an All-Star.
He was mine. He was one of mine, that's for sure.
He isn't something else. He just is. He's cut from different cloth, But for me, it's just a case of you just look across as riches. Like that's where you have to term it. It's riches. There's a serious level of natural ability in that group, and I think, in the general scheme of things, they're due one. They're in the final every year. They go close every year if they don't win it. And I think this team now probably has been building for about 3 or 4 years, and I think I can just start to see them sort of stretch their legs a wee bit.
Will there be any doubt? Because
doubt.
I haven't won it. Will there be any doubt because
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
beat Mahri?
would-
Mahri's beat him continuously.
Mahri have really had the Indian sign over Cross Midland for the last 4 or 5 years. I think Cross have only really turned them over once in 2019 in the semi-final. The rest of the time, Mahri have lorded over them in league football and in championship. So there's no doubt that's going to be playing on Cross's minds. I just feel sometimes these cycles naturally
Come around
again.
Yeah.
And if there was any other club, I'd be thinking Mahri will be in a final. But they're playing Cross, and as I said earlier, tradition, family cycles, generations, that, you know, maybe it's a pressure, but it's also like a birthright for them to come around again and win a championship. So I just feel that, having seen them against Drummond and how they finished up, I'd just be nudging Cross, but not by much.
Okay, so nobody's tipping Greenmore then?
No, we're not going for more.
Who's refereeing it?
Don't know. That's a good question.
Sinead, yeah.
There's another one. It's another situation.
That would be a
We'll trust him.
factor too.
We'll trust him. Patrick Morrison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And the best of luck with Kilcoo. And maybe we'll see you as a coach or a manager in the Armagh county scene maybe sometime in the future.
Well,
You never know.
Maybe.
You don't want to give anything away, but I'm sure a lot of clubs will be glad of your services. Was
Thank you.
on the line, and your brother Sean as well. So, and you'll keep the harps moving in the background. Press box is not the same anymore. Where Joe McManus and Mr. Beeford Morrison, John, absolute gentleman. We didn't actually look at the match programmes, but your dad kept us right all the time. So
We'll keep you right, don't worry
I think
about
he
that.
said
Would
it near enough. But listen, thanks very much, and best luck with Kilcoo.
Thank you.
Peter Nugent, you're back at the Tones for next season.
Yes,
You're gonna be there.
I would say we'll keep pushing. We'll keep pushing forward.
Yeah,
great change in Eugene. Really solid group of lads. So
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
and the team that beat you in extra time or in the final,
Aye, well, this is it. You know, it's
St
probably
Paul's.
shows a mark of our progress. You know, and
Yeah.
how the boys are pushing forward. So you can
Excellent.
use it. You can use it the right way.
Okay, Sinead, thanks very much indeed for coming the whole way from South Armagh, from
Yeah.
Killeen, is it?
No, just
Killing.
just make Make Village.
Well, listen,
Village
thank-
of Foot and Mouth from years ago.
Meg, thanks very much indeed, and the best luck to you and Caroline as well with Eire Og and the mothers and others. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, driving on with the mothers and others.
Brilliant, and
Yeah,
that's going
still
to
trying to
continue. That's
kick
going to
ball.
continue on, and you're still going to play. You haven't you're not no interest in retiring for a while then.
No, still trying to win that junior championship someday.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Thanks very
Fingers
much.
crossed.
Thanks to Eamonn Quinn behind the camera. Donagh McKeown for the introduction. He's our technical officer. And thanks to Eire Og for all their coverage. And we're looking forward to Intermediate Club Final, St Paul's and Shane O'Neill's. And we're looking forward to the semi-finals next weekend. And as I say, I shout out to the Harveys and Greenmore from Tassa. All my cousins. So I need to still tip Mahri, but hope Greenmore win it. So thank you very much to Eire Og. Thanks for all that. Thank you and good night.